Hey, how's everyone doing? It is office hours. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hi. Let's wake up Mubot here. I should grab some more coffee. We can always use more coffee. There we go. Mubot is waking up. Mubot going to be in the chat and give us some points. If you have questions, let us know. We can work on some 201, some 320, some 475. Might actually start looking into some dashboard stuff right here. Hey, Cassandra, great to see you here. Mubot's almost awake to give out some points. What are you wondering about, Cassandra? What would you like to talk about? Mubot is awake. I was going to update Mubot over break, but I did not. He did not get that service update. So we'll see what people want to do. Mubot's handing out some points right now. We'll say hi to Mubot in the chat. Hi, Mubot. How you doing? Let's see. We've got some upcoming chapters, but what would people like to talk about? I'll wait a moment here, and then we can start talking about whatever people want. Let's see. Project 1 has just been synced right now, so it looks like, looks like Project 1 is out for Stat 201, so we might see if Stat 201 wants to talk about Project 1. Make sure it's open and available, so we're going to check on that real quick right here. Let's go make sure Project 1 is open and available. Oh, I only did it for one class. Project 1. Oh my gosh, so many Project 1 placeholders and everything. There we go. And let's see. Mitzi says, hi, good to see you here, Mitzi. I'm in your afternoon class, but I have to leave early, by the way. What will we be covering? Chapter 10. Chapter 10 homework question about the business magazines mailed. You bet. That's a good one right there. Ooh, good questions. Let's go check out some Chapter 10 homework. We're going to do some Chapter 10. Signing in here. Remind me later. Getting Chapter 10 loaded up. Thank you so much, Cassandra, for being here and asking about Chapter 10. Colin, great to see you. I know it's a new account. Let's throw some 200 points for a random Colin appearing. Colin, so good to see you here from Disney. And since you told me, I remember you saying, we're going to add you as a mod on a new account right there. So good to see you here, Colin. Sorry about all the issues, the spam and stuff you were getting. But Colin, so good to see you. I just want to go swing by Disney. If you've been to Disney, Colin would say that's awesome because it's so awesome to hear when people get jobs that were like their dream job. And that just made me so happy to hear that, Colin. When you told me that you were going to be working there, I was like, yes, that is awesome. That is such good news. Let's see right here. We're going to load up the assignment. Because that's all I really want for my students. I just want them just be happy and to find, their job. To find, Chapter 8. Chapter 8, no. And to complete their homework assignments. That's good too. I want students to be happy and complete their homework. Homework is secondary to being happy. Be happy, number 1, and complete homework, number 2. Aw, thank you so much, Jalen. Great to see you here, too. If you have questions, let us know. Just drop any questions you have in the chat. Be like, hey, Brian, can you work this problem? We got an amusement park problem right here. Speaking of amusement parks, we're loading up the business magazine questionnaire. So let's put the timestamp on this. 505, Stat 201, Chapter 10, homework. Business magazine. Okay, let's go do it right here. So with this right here, a business magazine mailed a questionnaire to the chief executive officers of all 400 top profitable companies and received responses from 6% of them. Those responding reported that they did not find that surveys intruded significantly on their days. So the population is what? Give me a definition of the population. So when you hear population, first thing you should do is think of a definition of population. What is the definition that you have written down for a population? The population would be what right now? So a business magazine mailed a questionnaire to the chief executive officers of all 400 profitable companies and received responses back from 6% of them. So first we need to know what is a population. Before you even look at the answers, what is a population? So think about this for a moment right here. Be like, well, what's a population? Because then we can look at the answers to see which of those conform to what the definition of a population is. So population would be what? Take a moment right here. Think through what is a population. So population is all people or things we want to what? It might be Maria, and we'll go with that. We'll go with that right here. So I think Maria is right. Let's see right here. It's all people or things we want to understand. So the population would be all people or things we want to understand. So they want to understand these people. Those, and no, they sent it to just those people. So they're like, we want to understand these people. Exactly. All people are things we want to understand. They want to understand these people. So that's their population of interest. Sometimes we call it the population of interest. So those are the things they want to understand. The people or things they want to understand are those individuals right there. Next, we see the parameter of interest. Now, the only word that matters right here is parameter. So don't be confused by population parameter of interest. The parameter is what we want to understand. So what would it be? A, B, C, or D? Think about what they're asking, and that's what the parameter is. The parameter is like, if we were talking about in class today, we're talking about a wedding cake. For some reason, we're talking about wedding cakes today. You know why. So we're talking about wedding cakes, and you take a sample of this wedding cake, and then the people rate the sample to understand what all people might think about the wedding cake. So they are trying to understand the proportion. So they asked them, did this not intrude on your workday? That's what they want to understand. They're saying, does this survey intrude on your workday? So they want to understand the proportion of people who feel like the survey did not intrude on their workday. It's a very weird survey. But their question of interest, or what they're trying to understand, is, did this survey intrude on your workday? It's the weirdest survey ever. Does that make sense, Maria? So what they wanted to understand about this was, did this survey intrude on your workday? That's what they were trying to understand. Like when we have a wedding cake and we have people sample it, we're trying to understand what everyone would think about this wedding cake. Like, what is the rating of this wedding cake for all people when a sample of people try the wedding cake? Like 10 people try the wedding cake, we would get a statistic. If all people ate, we're trying to understand all people will eventually eat the wedding cake at the wedding. All people want it if we have enough. But we would then see, what we're trying to understand right here is, what do people think at the wedding? And we would have a sample of people to kind of get an inference of what people would think at the wedding. So they want to understand the truth for all people of whether or not this intrudes on their workday. I think our wedding cake example is better. And the next question right here, the sampling frame are the people you have access to, the people or things you have access to. So let's do a quick example right here. If I'm talking to people in this video, so Maria, great job right there. The sample frame is everyone we have access to. If I put this survey right here and let's say, is Disney awesome? We'll see if Colin's still watching. Is Disney awesome? What is my sample frame for the question on the screen right now? What is my sample frame for the question on the screen right now? Is Disney awesome? My sample frame for the question on the screen would be what? So think about the sample frame for Brian's current question on the screen is what? So I've asked, is Disney awesome? And my sample frame would be what right now? No one's replied. My sample frame would be what right now? What would my sample frame be for the question on the screen? It'd be you. If you are watching, you are in the sample frame. But let's say you don't respond. Would you still be in the sample frame, Maria, if you don't respond? So you're watching, but you're not clicking a button. You're just like, I'm just watching. I don't like clicking buttons, Brian. Would you still be in the sample frame if you don't respond? So the sample frame is everyone we have access to. So if someone's watching right now, but they didn't click a button, are they still in the sample frame? And Maria, let's throw out some 500 points for Maria right here. Thank you, Maria. This is good practice, and we're going to see if we can. Maria, that's worth 1,000 points. You are correct right there. Huge, crazy points right here. Thank you, Maria. Yes, because they're watching. I have access to them. It doesn't mean they respond. Anyone who's seeing this question right now on the screen who could respond is in the sample frame. So what we have right here is the list of the CEOs are the people we have access to. We could get answers from them. Now, they might not respond, but the people we could speak to are in our sample frame. As in anyone watching the video right now. Cora, great to see you here. We can do the dashboard next if you like. So anyone who's watching right now, like Cora, just joined the sample frame by watching. Now, whether or not they answered would be if they're in the sample. The sample is going to be the ones who respond. So the people who responded, we received responses from 6% of them. So the 6% who respond are in the sample. If you clicked a button, you are part of the sample in what I just did right there. If you clicked a button, you are part of the sample. The 6% of them who responded are part of the sample. The sampling method for this, they mailed it to all, right? I don't see any randomness about this. Questionnaire mailed to all non-random. That sounds right. I think I did just not a didn't like that question. It's not really random. They just mailed it to everybody. It's not really random. We like randomness here. Any potential sources of bias? Well, there's probably going to be some major bias with this. So with this, probably the biggest thing is going to be non-response bias. Non-response bias is when people do what with your survey. Very simple to remember what non-response bias is. Non-response bias is going to be when people do what to your survey. They don't what. Fill in the sentence. Non-response bias is when I give a survey and people don't do what to my survey. Non-response bias. Under coverage is when we don't get enough of a certain voice. Convenience bias is when we do it in a convenient way. And non-response bias is when people don't respond. There's a not response. People are like, I don't want to take that survey. And that's the problem right here. Cora and Maria, great job right there. People are not responding to the survey. And we've done it. It's a good, most of those questions are super awesome right there. I like it. Most of those questions are really good, kind of walking through the examples. There's the one about like, what kind of survey is this? And it's not a simple random sample or systematic. It's more of like they just sent it to everybody. It doesn't really follow any of the guidelines on proper sampling. It's just, hey, let's send this all out. Thank you so much for all those 8 votes right there. Let's go check out Cora. Should we start making a dashboard from scratch? Should we check that out? What do you think, Cora? What should we do? I know, Cora, you had questions about dashboards. We'll do a little 475 and drop more questions in the chat. I think we're going to do some 475 creating dashboards right here. ES 475, you bet. Creating dashboards from scratch. So let's over to the main screen here. Okay, I went really quick and I'm ahead of my timestamp. Okay. So what we have right here is we've already done some work. Cora actually tweeted this out. Are we covering all the vocabulary in class today? You bet, Maria. And we can come back and review that here in a moment if you want. Be like, hey, can we review some Stat 201 vocab? We definitely can. And so we've created some graphics, and I'll show you the tweet I did. But I tweeted this out. One of my random Stat 201 Twitter tweets. But we have right here 2 hearts. I'm up to 2 hearts. Woohoo! But we just do random who knows what on Stat 201 Twitter. But there it is. There's the graphic right there. Cora, and I should have just tagged Cora too. I don't know if you have a Twitter or anything. Probably people do. Probably most people have Twitter. But I don't know. If we make something cool, I just be like, put some cool graphics on here. We did the Jerry O'Connell thing. Still cracks me up. So anyways, am I wearing the same t-shirt? No, that's my Rick and Morty shirt. I know it right there. Anyways, I think that one actually got some view for some sliders. Okay, not about me, more about you. Let's go check out some dashboards. Okay. So with this right here, we want to take this and put it into a dashboard. And let's go grab a little skeleton of a dashboard. So creating tab dashboards in Shiny. And here we go. Shiny dashboard structure. There we go. I was like grabbing a little kind of starter for this. They've got look, they got the messages and notifications things. These are so cool, Cora. Like, you can add notifications and messages for somebody right here. You can see drop-down menu, type notification, text equals 5, new user stay icon, all this stuff right here. So let's start grabbing. That's all the drop-down. They've got all the stuff right here. Okay, we're going to take, I wish they'd rather just show the end product. Here we go. Body, dashboard body, fluid row, UI, shiny up. Okay, let's see if we can grab this and use this. We'll see if it's looking good right here. So base layout. Okay, cool. Can we do the soil? Yeah, we'll do the soil sample one next. You got it. Yeah. There's a lot of cool things we can make right here. We'll do the soil sample one right here, Jalen, in a few minutes. You got it. Probably about 10, 15 minutes. And dashboard body. So what do you think we probably don't have loaded up? I think we don't have the shiny. Is that in shiny widgets? What is dashboard body in? Too many packages. Dashboard body is in shiny dashboard. Oh, and I got shiny dashboard plus. Fluid row. Fluid row is what? Fluid row in. Fluid row is in. What? Couldn't I find a function of fluid row? Well, I'll be. Fluid row Oh, yeah, we'll do the hockey question too. You got it, Jalen. Definitely. And we should see library on here. Library, shiny dashboard. It's in shiny? Do I not have shiny loaded? What am I doing? Makes sense, right? Cora, 500 points, Cora, helping out right there. You would think that Shiny Dashboard Plus would load that up, but apparently not. Apparently not. And wow, look at all this. I mean, we need to start kind of configuring this, but all this right here, all these different boxes, this right here is just kind of a base layout for us. What we want to do is we're probably going to get rid of all these boxes, but we could probably, you know, you could go right here with this Title 1 thing. We could probably put the graphic inside of here. So let's kind of clear this all out. Let's kind of go in here and just start working with this. We got fluid row, da 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 da. I want the one that says Title 1, right? There's Title 1. It's in this fluid row. Okay. And so we're going to take out this fluid row right here, and that'll actually remove that comma. We're going to double check everything. Always rerun your stuff. And now you see we lost that first fluid row. I'm just going to take this Title 1 right here. Does this make sense what I'm doing, Cora? Is I'm just kind of using this row layout. I can then put this inside of tabs or whatever. But I'm going to put our first graphic right here and call this like graphic 1 or whatever. And it's going to be inside of a box. We were talking about the boxes we could use during class. But I'm kind of just using their layout to kind of create a skeleton right here. Awesome. And so we're going to remove out, here's the Title 1. Is there two Title 1s? What? Status warning, primary, all that good stuff. Okay, let's remove out everything down through here and rerun it all. And we should just have one thing in the fluid row 1. That's awesome. Cool. And the fluid row width 4. Cool. We'll change that. So width equals 12. And I am a constant runner of my stuff to make sure. Okay, cool. So I think I've looked at this before. There's like a amount like this grid has. I think it's like a 12 by something grid. So I made this box a lot bigger for the picture we're going to do in a moment. Let's remove out this fluid row right here. That's where it closes. We don't need the additional argument now. And now we should have just our one thing. And there we go. So now we're going to grab our graphic and put it inside of there. I think we still have the graphic stored as P. So we might be able to just throw it in there. The graphic's not being created in the server, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. But we should be able to put... I'm going to change this a little bit. Now, this is where we're going to start formatting our... Sure. Box contents. Does it just say box contents right now? Box contents. Cool. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Did I store it as P? I do have it as P. Okay. Probably it needs to be made. We probably need to do a render. Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's say it needs to be rendered. So I think, well, but we should be able to go to plot output. Let me double check. Plot output. Nope. Text must be written. So is it only going to take text right there, Cora? What do you think? It should allow us to do with the box, add a graphic. Oh, you see, this is where it gets so nice. And in row 1, they've got their histogram right here. So right here, and they've got a scatter plot. Can you go over the Yeah, we'll do a roller coaster question here soon. You bet. And we should see the histogram. There it goes. Box title, histogram, plot. Here it is. Plot output. So it should be plot output. Plot 2. Okay, so we need to make it down in the server. So there it is right there. Plot output right here. And we're going to go ahead and take this. And then we need to make a plot 2 down there. So we're just going to kind of follow their procedures. Okay, so we don't have a plot 2 down here in the server. Oh, do we not have a server? We don't have a server. Oh, wait, there's the server. Wow, that is the smallest of servers. Ooh, I don't like that. So we're gonna this format right here is not one of my favorites. So we're going to take the server and bring it out of here. So what happens when you take code that someone has, it doesn't follow the format you like. And we're going to take the server, put the server here. So that should be the server function. I might actually just do it this way. Shiny. And then can we go over the row? Oh, that's, yeah. And so there's our server. Cool. Yeah, I prefer it this way. And there's our shiny UI right here. And they're not running anything in the server currently. We're going to delete off the UI. And now we should have everything the same. Error has been occurred. The text must be written in one like territory. Is it mad about the server equals server? Oh, I know why. It's because of this right here. This is the problem right now. Yeah, that's the problem. The format from the website was a little... yeah, that's what's... they're definitely using a way different format. That's why we're just trying to, like, get it back to our format. And so I had a plot in there because we were talking about how the server needed to be... like, we don't have a server, so we need to make a plot 2 right here in the server. So we need to do... we're just going to make a simple plot right here really quickly. We're going to go to the output list and store plot 2 inside of it. And we're going to make a render plot. Yes, that's right. Render plot of the hist of the numbers 1 through 100. And then up here, we have the code right there, plot output. So we should get it now. There we go. So now we have this. And as you notice, is this making sense right here, Cora, what I've done? And then we're going to take our graphic and put it inside of there. I guess we need to render Plotly our graphic. So probably because we've already made it, which I have 2 servers running. Oh, there it is right here. That's running and that's running. I think we'll be fine. Okay. So we've already made our graphic. So we can go to render Plotly and we can go to ggplotly of P, and then we need to go to render or Plotly output. Should work. There we go. So now we have this right here, Cora. Is this making sense? I keep getting there with the sidebar menu. I might need to look at. You might need to send me that. Yeah, we were mentioning the sidebar menu, but now we have our graphic inside of a plot right here, inside of a box. Or inside my administration, tiny administration, is missing with no default. So yeah, so that is send me. We fixed the issue last night. I know it's the one thing, and now we've got a box right here with our output that we created. So we've got the new girl stuff right here. So is this making sense right here, Cora? Then we could start putting these in tabs. But what are you thinking, Cora? We've kind of used the box way of putting things inside of a box right here and just kind of building upon this. And I can send you this right here because we've worked on this together. So let me send you this via Discord right here. But that's kind of like a basic, like, we now have this in a working structure. The last thing I would do right here is I'd start adding tabs to this. So awesome. Yeah. And so what you want to do is you just want to start putting things in step by step by step. Okay, we'll do one more thing right here, and then we're going to hop over to the 2-1 questions again. Cora, would you rather me put in a tab or put in maybe like some sort of notifications or things like that? I like the notifications, but the tabs is probably more useful. Good to see you here, Amy. Ask questions if you got. We're about to do some more 201 here in a second. Jalen, thank you so much for those questions. Let me take Jalen's questions while, Cora, you decide what our next step is. And we can come back to this, Cora, after another little bit. But I've sent the code right here. Stat 201, Chapter 10, soil question. 10, soil question. And Stat 201, I've got to make sure to write these down. Chapter ice hockey question. Chapter 10, ice hockey question. And Chorus said the tabs will be great. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I think I forgot about little bits. Little bits. Yep, you got to do it in little bits. Don't try to code the whole app at once. I always try to remind people how often do I reload my app? About 1,000 times. So we want to use the tab panel now. I'm always like, see, it's like do so many things. And then my brain's like, wait a minute. How do I do that again? Using tabs in Shiny Dashboard. Always seeing an example is the best way to do it. Are they not using any tabs here? There's their tabs. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Here we go with tabs. So menu item, we need a menu item, then we need the tabs. Okay. So we're going to add the sidebar menu. I think that's, you were mentioning the sidebar menu, right? If the p-value of an outlier is above the significance level, does that mean it's not actually not? Ben, which one are you talking about? Ben, please ask more specific. You got it. You got it. If a p-value of an outlier is above the significance level, does that mean it's not actually an outlier? Which thing? Go more specific, Ben. Great question. We might cover that as a little quick question next. But Ben, you got that. Thank you so much for that question. So they are storing. Okay, so this is why they're doing theirs differently. They're storing their sidebar as a sidebar. And so here is the body as the dashboard page. The UI has the body right here. And then they're creating their sidebar right here where they're just calling it sidebar. So they're calling their sidebar, which the sidebar is going to have the sidebar stored into it. And I'm not the biggest fan of doing it this way. They're breaking it apart into parts. It's interesting. I usually like to do it all at once, but let's go ahead and do this. And let's just see if it runs. Got an extra parentheses. Let me reformat this. Where did I get that extra parentheses from? And we're not got our sidebar. We don't got it. Not working right now. Would you mind personally store the body outside of the UI? Like, I personally wouldn't do that. I'm not. I'd probably reformat my code later on. I'm not a big fan of that. Sidebar should be appearing. The body. Oh, see, they've got a different body right here. They got the body with the tab items. So we need to add the tab items into our body because their dashboard body right here has the tab items. So there's the dashboard body with a fluid row. But now we want to go back here and add in those tab items. So let's go over here to the tab items, and it goes to right here. We're just going to add in some tab items, and that should connect everything. And let's take a look. I always like Frankensteining things together. It's kind of my goal. And we said this goes into the dashboard body right here. Should be good to go right there. Let's give it a shot. Let's find out what happens. I think I clicked everything. I think the other things were previously saved. We're still not getting it. Dun, dun, dun. What is it mad about? Tab name, dashboards. We should have tab names right now. Dashboards, all this, widgets. Let me take a look right here. Dashboards, widgets, and then they've got the pages right there with widgets, tab content. Widgets, tab content. Widgets, widget, tab contents. I think that is part of the problem right there. That's where it's saying right there. Sidebar and dashboard widgets. That's where that's being created. And then these are the tab items. So the sidebar, we did store it this way. Dashboard, sidebar, menu. We're so close. Oh, wait. Here it is. Here it is right here. We have two arguments, same thing. I think that was the issue. Or it wasn't. Let's do the following. Let's not do it outside of it. And let's do it inside of it. Let's take the sidebar right here and put it back where it belongs inside of it. The sidebar right here. Good. So there's our sidebar. That might fix it. And I'm going to bring the body inside. Dashboard header. I'm still not liking it. Couldn't do it. What is it not like? And then the tabs are right here. Is it mad about something about the tabs? That is loading. Tab items. We do have a comma after this. Let me put this first. Maybe it's getting mad with the fluid rows. What is it mad about? What do you think, Cora? We're almost there. We're going to do some tool on here in a moment. Dashboard body, the tab items aren't showing up. This is the fun of when you have maybe a parentheses missing. I'm reformatting my code as I'm doing this. Shouldn't be any changes to it. It's only going to make it so that we have it all in one spot. There we go, right there. So we got the dashboard header, the dashboard body. Inside the dashboard body, we have all this. Let me reformat all my code. Everything's formatted. The fluid row. I don't think that would cause issues. Oh, it's something crashing. There we go. Something is not. It didn't update. I deleted the work right there, so it should. Okay, wait. Now we're getting something. Tag, expected tag to be type assign. Yeah, I know, right? It's like I might start with the tabs now instead, but we're so close. Here, we'll put the 5-minute timer on, then we're gonna do some 201. A little chill music right here. Troubleshooting live is always the way to do it. Okay. So tag assert, sidebar, tab equals aside, class equals main sidebar. Let's see. We're gonna do some 201 here in 5 minutes. So we got 5 minutes to figure this out. Figure it out. Everything right here. I think, do they have all of this? Still crashing. That is the issue. I always love when they don't do the things properly. The way they wrote this. So close. Let's see. Well, the dashboard page, because that's not being stored into UI. That's the problem. Is like this all right here is not the UI. And one more song right here, and then we'll head back over. We just played that one. We're so close. That's the problem. I feel like they don't check these codes sometimes that they put online. Okay, that's good. Okay. Problem. Okay. There's that. So we got that working. And so with that working, so I'm testing for outliers and are using grub test function. I'm testing the other 5% function. Can you send me your code? I would say it's not considered, because if the null hypothesis is not outlier and you're looking for evidence of outliers, it seems to me, Ben, with that test right there, good test right there, Ben, 100 points, Ben. It seems that the null hypothesis would be not an outlier till evidence of an outlier. So not an outlier is what you would say. Is the server destroying it? Okay. And so we're almost there. We'll go here to graphs. And then inside of graphs, we'll do last moments right here. We almost got this. Tab item, tab name. Okay. There we go. With seconds to spare, Cora, we've done it. 15 seconds to spare. But now we've got a graphs tab right here. So we've done it. Once again, it's just like step by step. And then sometimes you just have to like restart. I felt like I was hitting a wall with the other methodology. Something was just the tiniest a bit off. So it's like, let me restart it. Let me start with this right here and try to integrate the box into it. But something was the tiniest bit off. But now we've got maybe like an instructions page and a graphs page. And it's got our interactive graph on it right here. But that's got it, Cora. So it's all about, like you said it perfectly, it's about those little bits. When you're working on it, it's going to run into problems. It's going to break. Yeah, so basically, once again, what I did is I took the components from this, found some stuff I really like these things are super awesome. And then I'm just like taking their code and integrating it in. And we've already made a little bit of changes right here. So we can get to where it says like graphs for us. We can change the icons. Of course, we got to do it because we remember the icon that I absolutely love. There's the icon, is the Xbox icon. Why not? Because I just love that you can put the Xbox icon for that right there. So make sure to do what you want to customize this, but it's just a general layout, and then you could change from simple tabs, whatever you want to call it. And I'll drop this over here on the Discord. Thank you, Cora, for joining in. Hopefully this helps out other students. But I'm going to drop the code here for you on the Discord, since it's your code, since you came in, asked us to work on it, and we created it. And I've already got that graphic P created. So if it doesn't run for you, it's probably because we don't have the graphic P created right here. That is the New Girl season plot right there that we created. But great work, and thank you for asking, Cora. Really good practice, and just making some basic stuff right here. And in 15-20 minutes worth of work, we got our tab layout, and we've already put a box on here to kind of do some output. The good stuff. Think about it. This box layout's pretty good. You can change this, change the width of it, make it, customize it how you want. Do the fluid rows, so you can do different rows inside of there. Okay, let's head back, do some 201. Here we go. Awesome work, everybody. A lot of fun right there. I love, sadly, I love coding so much. It's just like, it's a puzzle. It's like a Rubik's Cube that you're trying to solve, and you're just like, what way? And then you just throw the Rubik's Cube down, and you say, let me restart this Rubik's Cube again. You pick it back up, and you're like, I can solve this. And it's really great when you get it solved, but sometimes it's just like, where is the thing? How does it work? It's frustration, but it's good frustration. I'd say it takes, like, I don't know. If you like puzzles, then coding is the way to go. We're going to find those two questions right here and do some 201. So let's go take a look at those. We've got the hockey question, and we've got the soil question. The hard thing about chapter 10 is it actually mixes up the questions. So the hockey question and the soil question. I think this is the hockey question. Yeah. So here, I'll explain as we go into this because... Oh, will. Okay, good. Exactly, Cora. It's one of those things that when you figure it out, it's like, yes! So this is the hockey question. I'll show in a moment why it's the hockey question. But this right here changes. It could be a football organization. It could be a frisbee organization, a baseball. Here's the ice hockey. We finally got the ice hockey for one of these for me to take right here. But it changes what it's based on. Very similar questions, but the question could change as you're doing it. So yours might be different, so be very careful in your answers because you can't just copy the answers. It's going to change a little bit as we do it. A hockey organization and hockey organization. Grammar. Test players to see whether they're using performance-enhancing drugs. Officials select a team at random, a whole team, and drug testing crews show up unannounced to test all 20 players. Each testing day can be considered a study of drug use. Complete parts A and B. So what kind of sampling was used? Well, they're taking everybody. And this is exactly where we got to at the end of class today when we were talking about the difference between stratified and clusters. Stratified is acknowledging a difference and then sampling based on that difference. Clustering is taking a whole bunch at once. So they're taking a whole team at once. This is going to be a cluster sample of a team right here. Is that choice appropriate? I'm going to look at these right here. No, the team is selected at random, so it is not, well, no. If it's selected at random, it is representative. Like, you don't say things are random and then they're representative. That's contradictory. Like to say, no, the team is selected at random, so it's not representative. No. No, the 20 players tested is not large enough to be representative of all hockey players. That's iffy. Yes, the team is not, no. No, if it's not selected at random, that's bad. Yes, an entire team can be sampled at once relatively easily, but all players couldn't efficiently be sampled on the same day. That makes sense right there. So we're taking a cluster sample, taking a whole bunch at once, and that's an easy way. You often take clusters like a whole bunch at once to do it in an easy fashion. So this is a perfect example of a cluster example. Yay, 100. We love those hundreds. And with this being a cluster sample, we're taking a whole bunch at once, and then we're getting information on all of them. There's no differences acknowledged. We say, go to that team, sample everybody. We're not sampling based on team. If you stratified, you would sample different amounts based on this team, that team, this team, and you would say, let's sample based on team, not just a whole team at once. I think the confusion is that when we do stratified, we could do it based on team. So if we have right here a team, a cluster sample would say, take all of one team, and then the team would be the cluster. But you could stratify based on team to do a stratified sample. We'll do stratified in red over here. So if you stratify on team, the difference over here is going to be you would take a bunch of different teams, and from those teams, you would take like every single team, you would take maybe, copy, paste, shrink them down. If you were to stratify, probably the best example we can do right here. Oh, I should have copy pasted that. Never going to work again. Oh, there we go. Stratifying looks like this right here. So cluster is when you go to a team and you take a whole team at once. So cluster would be, say, take one whole team and that's your sample. So the team is now your cluster. You've taken all of one team. Is that representative? Maybe. You could argue it's not. But then stratifying is saying, go to a bunch of teams and take something like 3 players from every team. So 3 from each. So you're acknowledging a difference. You're saying each team is different, so we should take 3 players from each team. So all of one team. And this is usually a term people get confused on, of cluster versus stratified. Sorry, they're reversed on. Let me change where they're on the screen. We'll say stratified versus cluster so people don't get confused in this order right here. Stratified versus cluster. Cluster is when you take a whole group and take information on everybody. Stratified is when you acknowledge a difference and then sample according to that difference. So if you stratify based on team, you would say take 3 players from each team so that way we can get a representative view of each team. If you cluster sample based on team, you would say get a whole team and select everybody on that team. Clustering is usually used for convenience to get a whole bunch at once, where stratified is usually more representative by saying there's differences among the teams, so let's get 3 players from each team. You're stratifying, creating separation between them. Strata means different layers in Latin. So you are stratifying based on team. If you say, I want this team, this team, this team, this team, this team, and select 3 from each team. But you're cluster sampling if you say, take a team and give me everybody. They're just a group. I'm going to take all of them at once. So good review right here of stratified versus cluster, and knowing the difference right here for this question is going to help you get an A on it. Heading back over to the next question. Oh, the soil sample question. The soil sample question, the dreaded questions. The soil sample question is a tough one. Let's go find it. It's also one of the ones that switches because it's never consistent. I never understood why this quiz, the questions vary so much. It takes a moment to find them. So let's see right here. This is the magazine interview. The soil sample question. I did not get a quiz with it. This might be it. Oh, just found it. I'll show it too. Let's go check out the soil sample question. Let's do it. Okay, with the soil sample question right here, let's take the timestamp. 46. With the soil sample question, you might say this isn't the soil sample question. Well, it's the weighted outside a bar question, which can be sometimes the soil sample question. This is the magazine interviewed question, and still the magazine interviewed question. Still the magazine interviewed question. I promise you it's the soil sample question. You say, no, it's not. It's the magazine interviewed. No, it's the weighted outside bar question. Oh my, we'll find it. Watch, it will appear. My Pearson loves. Have you already gone to chapter 10 stuff? Yeah, Brianna, ask more. We're going to be doing some more chapter 10 right here. It's a really great thing. We're trying to get it to do the soil sample. If it does it completed or not completed, we'll do it either which way. Here we go. So we're going to look at the completed version because the soil sample question is actually a rather rare question. It's like a shiny Pokemon. So if you got the soil sample question, feel happy because it's kind of rare. It randomly generates from like the weighted outside a bar question versus the magazine question. But this is the soil sample question right here. And let's think about it. So what we have right here is an industrial waste dump. Amazing question. And we're going to go outside of this plant and we are going to take soil samples. So we've got here a toxic waste dump. It's got fences all around here. We're gonna jump the fence. We're allowed to. This is us. Let's put us to scale right here. So we're gonna go right here and we're gonna jump this fence. There we go. There's us. Here's you. You jump the fence and you're gonna say, I'm gonna see if there is evidence of contamination around here. So what would you be interested in around this toxic waste dump? You'd be interested in the what around this toxic waste dump. We'll put a little zone of like a brick wall right here. It's a brick wall. You would be interested in all the soil around this toxic waste dump. Toxic waste dump. So you'd be interested in all the soil around it. You're going to be walking around here collecting up soil. Not that. Really? Are we now connected to the toxic waste dump? What has happened? So you're going to be walking around collecting soil all around it, and that is what you're interested in. So let's take a look at what the question asks us. The first thing is, what is the population of interest? Well, the population of interest, like we just said, is all the soil around the dump. We want to understand all of it. So it's got this area that we say is the area around it, and we want to collect data on all the soil, or at least we want to understand all the soil. The next thing is what is the parameter of interest? And this one is usually where the mistake is because they say it in a little bit weird of a way. So the agency took samples around 19 locations, that's their sample size, near a former industrial waste dump and checked each for evidence of toxic chemicals. So the parameter of interest is toxic chemicals. I wish they were more specific, but it's the levels of toxic chemicals. Good to see you here, Mitzi. And so we have the levels of toxic chemicals because they don't get into more specific. They don't say the proportion that had toxic chemicals. They don't say number of locations doesn't make sense because they say they're interested in toxic chemicals. When you hear parameter of interest, the parameter is what they want to understand. And whatever we see right here should have toxic chemicals. So all of these are wrong. So like the proportion is the proportion of samples containing high levels. They don't mention high levels. So it doesn't say anything about high levels. That's why this one would be wrong right here. It's I know it's so close. It's like talks about toxic chemicals. They don't say anything about high levels. They don't say anything about high levels. Each for evidence of toxic chemicals. They're just trying to find what are the toxic chemicals. Not if they're high. They're just trying to find out if it's toxic chemicals. These two are basically the same thing also, like the number of samples with toxic chemicals, high levels, the proportion. These are almost the same thing. So that would narrow it down right here because that's the only one that doesn't go into the specifics about it. It just says they're looking for toxic chemicals, so levels of toxic chemicals. So I'd almost say that, but that's besides the point. They should be a little more clear. It's clear they want to understand toxic chemicals, though. Just what about the toxic chemicals? They're just trying to find evidence of them. Like the levels, the mound, what are you trying to find? Now, the sampling frame is usually where there's a mistake also in this question, but I drew my picture a certain way for a reason. When you think about the sampling frame, if there's this brick wall right here, and I'm saying it's like a high brick wall, it's like, and it goes around the fence too. What do you notice about this being a brick wall that is like 40 feet high? So that's a 40-foot high brick wall. You'd kind of wonder why they built a 40-foot high brick wall around some area in their toxic waste dump. So what do you notice we would not be able to do? We would not have what to that area? It's 40-foot high brick wall, and we didn't bring our climbing gear. So what do you notice about that 40-foot high brick wall and us going around here? We'll redraw ourselves. So remember, we're here to collect samples on the levels of toxic chemicals. So here's us. We now have freedom to walk around again. What do you notice is going to be the issue when we get to right here? So we're going around the toxic waste dump, collecting samples. And what do you notice about this right here? We don't have access to it. We can't get to it. So this is an area of interest to us. We'd love to get in here and start doing some samples, but for some reason, we don't have access to it. It's a 40-foot high brick wall, and we can't get to it. So the sample frame is everything we have access to. So when you hear the sampling frame, or I call it the sample frame for short, the sample frame is all areas we have access to. So I think they make that super clear in their answer, because the answer is the sampling frame is the accessible soil around the dump. So if we can't get to it, it's not in our sampling frame. So the sampling frame is the soil we can get to. So once again, this soil right here that we are interested in, it's in our population. We'd love to learn about this soil that they just roped off, who knows why, around a toxic waste dump, but we cannot get to it. We want to understand it, but we do not have access to it. Imagine like students who are overseas, or students who are, like not watching live or things like that. We don't have access to talk to those students if we can't even send a survey to them. So on students overseas, we can still send surveys to. But if a student didn't watch live today when we were in class and we did a survey, they were not in my sampling frame. Now, I do want to understand them because they're one of my students, but I didn't have the access to even ask them a question. So that right there would be the sampling frame for the question and for our class. The next question says, what is the sample for the study? Now, the sample for the study is pretty simple. It's just what we take data on. So whatever we get data on is the sample. So we have here that we have 19 locations we got data on. Well, the 19 samples. So when you think about this, if you respond to something, you're in the sample. But if you got the survey, you're in the sample frame. If they want to understand you, you're part of the population. You might not get the survey, though. They might not have had access to sample you. So there you go. Which sampling method was used? Well, we saw the answer. You didn't see it was over there. It's really not clear. They just went around and collected 19 samples, but that's really not clear. Like, how did you do it? Did you randomly select those locations? And I always hate these not clear answers because it's like one of those things. We don't put that on the test. So don't worry. On the test, we won't put it's not clear, because I'm just not a big fan of these. They're not clear answers because they're not clear. Is the sampling method used random? It doesn't say. It's not clear. It should say not clear. It is not known. It's not clear. They didn't. They just said we took 19 samples. Well, I don't know. How'd you take them? I mean, it's kind of fair, but I wish it actually used a random sampling method, or said, like, did the question tell you if it was a random sampling method? And the answer is no. The question never said random sampling was used. What was left out of the study? This is a tough one too. Have you gone over the school? Yeah, let's do the school system. That's one of my favorites. Ooh, that one's fun. We'll do that next, Christian. Thank you so much, Christian. 100 points. Thank you for being here. And we'll do the school system one next. I really don't see anything left out of the study right now. They don't mention anything being left out, so I'm going to say nothing. Yeah, unclear. Like, once again, look at my brain being like, I don't see anything left out. They don't really mention anything left out, or like they don't tell us about problems. And that would be under coverage bias right there. So they're kind of alluding to the idea of under coverage bias, that they didn't get the sample they wanted, or didn't like talk to certain things, like get certain samples. What type of bias is evident? Well, the only thing I could see is if we can't access certain areas, it's kind of like a non-response bias. There's no real evidence of bias, so I'd probably go towards with these answers before I look at them right here. Got a blip in the reconnect. Oh, that happened a lot yesterday. None. Like I said, I didn't really see any. No real. What problems can you see in generalizing to the population of interest? Well, we said there's no problems. If we say there's no problems, then there's no problems. So always try to be consistent with your answers. Like if you're like, what type of bias is there? Well, I can't identify any bias in this. So if I can't identify any bias, then we can generalize this to the population of interest. So pretty good question right here. Pretty tricky just with it tries to throw you for some loops. We're not trying to generalize to all other toxic waste dumps. It doesn't matter that some might be more contaminated than others as long as we do a random sampling method. Truthfully, what I would say is if I did have a critique of this, I would say I don't know if it's random, and if it's not randomized, they might have just did a convenience sample to get these 19 samples. So probably I have some fears right now that it's not randomized. Like if I said, what are some problems? If I'm writing a response to this, I would say, did you randomly select these? Let's do the elementary school question. Let's do it. Oh my. Randomness everywhere. Elementary school question coming right up right here. That is a good one. That's one of my favorites because it really reviews the sampling methods. Stat 201. Okay. I think it's near the beginning of this. Finding that. And if you have more questions, let me know. We got more time. We can do a few more. The elementary school question. Did I just skip it? I just skipped one. I think I skipped question 5. If it's question 5, I'm going to be like, wow. My Pearson's being like slow. Watch it be question 5. I knew it. I knew it is question 5. Let's do this. When I was loading this up right here, I skipped one question. I was like, I think the one question I skipped is question 5. So with this is the elementary school question. It has many different versions. And so we need to identify first the sampling method used, and then we need to identify what bias there is, if any. Now, the big thing to know is if it's random, we're good. So they say the first sampling method they're going to use to talk to parents is randomly select 150 parents and then send them a survey, follow up with home visits. So Christian, what kind of bias are they doing by following up with home visits if they don't reply within a week? What kind of bias are they guarding against? So they're actually making sure there's not a problem right here. They're going to send out 150 random surveys to people who are parents, and then they're going to make sure they respond. So they're trying to stop what kind of bias for 100 points right here. What kind of bias are they trying to stop? So this is going to be a good one, but they're trying to make sure there is no this bias. They're going to be like, all these 150 people are going to respond. They're making sure that there is not what kind of bias. So we'll look at the notes right here. By going out and making sure these people respond, they are guarding against what kind of bias right here. We've got all the different biases on the screen. So what kind of bias are they guarding against? No idea. Don't worry. Like, what do you see? Do you see any that would kind of make sure people are going to respond? Now, like, so what kind of bias are they guarding against? Christian, right here, we'll see. So they're making sure people respond. So they want to make sure people respond. Did you see any that are going to be a guard against for 100 points? Do you see any that people are going to make sure people respond? Like if we guard against this, we make sure there's no type of this bias. So what do you think would be what we're trying to stop from happening? Would it be voluntary? Non-response, 100 points right there. Great answer. Non-response bias. That's when people who don't respond differ in their opinions than those who do. So non-response bias, that's why they're going out and they're making sure people respond. Because imagine they say, you know, are your kids happy at our school? So that they're going to send out this thing saying, are your kids happy? They might have a lot of voluntary bias because the people who respond are going to have strong opinions like, oh, my kid hates it at your school. Oh, my kid loves it at your school. I don't know why they sound those ways. But voluntary bias is going to be when people who have strong opinions reply to our survey. So with this voluntary bias right here, we would see strong opinions replying, but we could go out and make sure that everyone responds. So non-response bias is when people who don't reply have differing opinions than those who do reply. So the non-response bias right here is a big thing, and we want to make sure we guard against that. So randomly select 150 parents. This is going to be a simple random sample. A simple random sample is when everyone has an equal and likely chance of being selected, and that is when we give everyone a number. We say, okay, we have 1,000 parents. Let's select 150 of them, and then we'll send them all a survey, and then they all need to respond. And there should be no bias with this. As long as we do everything properly right here, we're going to have no bias. That was a simple random sample. When we give everybody a number, which it doesn't say we gave everyone a number, but we did select them randomly. So it's kind of like giving them a number and just drawing a number and saying, we'll talk to this parent, we'll talk to this parent, we'll talk to this parent. And every parent has an equal chance of being selected. So we'd probably do it by giving everyone a number and selecting 150 random parents. List all the names of the students alphabetically and contact every 10th parent. So what do we call this one? I'll put some hints on the screen. What do we call this kind of sampling when we list the names of every parent and we select every 10th student? We technically do it from a random starting point. So what do we call this right here when we select every 10th student or so? Like we're selecting every 4th M&M right here. What would we call this type of methodology for sampling when we have the list of all the students and we say, okay, select every 10th student on this list? What would we call that? Systematic. It's like you made a system right here. So it's a systematic sample where you select every 10th student. Kth is just a placeholder for what you're selecting. So a really good way to know this is systematic is whenever you see like 10th or something like that, that's a big sign that it's systematic. So once I see 10th, I'm going to be like systematic. Did I change an answer? Good, we're good. I thought I changed something. And as long as they do this properly, this is part of our random sampling methods that we use in this portion when we're doing actual random sampling methods. So systematic is a sample design that is good, just like simple random sample. So we've done two good ones. The first one was select 150 random parents and make sure they respond. Technically, this one should also say make sure they respond too, but systematic right here is going to be select every 10th or whatever parent we want from a list of names, and that's a systematic sample. Look for every kth. That's a good way to tell it's systematic, and both those are not biased. Send a survey home with every parent and ask parents to fill it out and return it within the next day. So this is an attempt at something. What do we do in the US where we try to talk to everybody? So if we send a survey home with every student, then what do we do in the US? It's called this, and we're supposed to try to get everybody. So the goal of this is to talk to everybody. So when you hear like, oh, we want to talk to everybody of interest, we want to talk to every parent and know the view of every single parent, or talk to everybody in the US and know info on everybody in the US, this is when we are attempting this or doing a this. So to get info on everybody is to take a what. So if we send a survey home to every parent, we are attempting to create a what. And good terms to know. So send a survey home, a census. Yep. This is an attempt at a census. A census, great job. Christian, excellent work. Christian, I'm throwing you 500 points right here. Christian, thank you so much for being here and practicing, taking part of the conversation. We are attempting a census right here. And a census is when you try to take data on everybody in the population. So we're going to say every parent. We want to hear from every parent. Now we're attempting it because we might not get it. Hopefully we do get it. Let's read the things. Response bias could, no. Voluntary bias result since only parents who feel strongly will respond. This is the tough one. Probably non-response. I'm a little worried on this one. Probably non-response bias. Not all parents are going to respond. See, the problem is both of these are viable options. I feel like I should email me if you get it wrong. I'll give you points back on this one. Voluntary response bias will result since only parents who feel strongly. No, we don't. It's not going to be that. Non-response bias. Let me read it again. Send a survey home with every student and ask a parent to fill it out and return the next day. I think we should go with non-response. Really? It's going to just move the question on me. Non-response bias. I'm going to go with non-response. It's either that or bias would only result if the sample started. Do you have time? Of course. Rollercoaster. Definitely. Let me write that down on the list. Definitely. Do the rollercoaster one. You might have asked that earlier, Cassandra. I'm sorry about that. We'll definitely do it. We'll do the roller coaster one next. So good questions. Thank you for being here to ask that. Hey, Adam, what's up? How you doing? We did some 475 earlier. Check it out. Randomly select 10 parents from each elementary school. Ooh, I like this one. And follow up with a home survey. There we go. Making sure there's some not non-response bias. This goes back to the previous topic. We are selecting 10 parents from each elementary school. Is this systematic? Or is this cluster? We're selecting 10 parents from each elementary school. Is this systematic? Nice job right there, Adam. Is this systematic or cluster to select 10 parents from each elementary school? So we're selecting 10 parents from each elementary school. 10 parents from each elementary school. Is that systematic or cluster? Or stratified. Oh my gosh. Stratified or cluster? Is that stratified or cluster? 10 parents from each elementary school. Is that stratified or cluster? This is from a previous example we did, but think about this. We stratified, we acknowledge differences and sample according to those differences from the groups. Cluster is to take a whole bunch at once. So which of these is it? Is it stratified or cluster to take 10 parents? Great job. Another 100 points right there, Christian, because each elementary school is the strata. Like we're saying that we're going to take 10 from this school, 10 from this school. So it goes with this visualization right here to take 10. I know it says 3 right now because we're talking about a different example, but we take 10 from here, 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 10 from here. If the school was strata, if the school was a cluster, how many people, 3-letter word, how many of the parents would we take from a school if the school was a strata? If the school was a strata, we would take how many from the school to sample with the parents? We'd take how many parents from each of the schools? What's up, Zach? Good to see you here. We take how many from this school if the school was the strata? If the school, oh my gosh, school is a cluster. Sorry, need more coffee today. If the school was a cluster, we would take all of them. But if the school is a strata, we're going to take a certain amount from each school. But if it's a cluster, we're going to take all of them. So this is very clearly stratified. Very sorry, mixed up my wording there a little bit. But this is very clearly stratified. My Pearson's not helping me. And since we're following up with the home visits, we should be good. So bias can only result if not followed. Little worried about the one. I said it, and they're going to say it's fine, right? Really? Oh, that was right. Ooh, did I misclick an answer? What is going on? That is stratified. Bias, this has to be right. What did we do? That is right. I feel like there was a misclick. We're going to see if there was a misclick. I feel like this is chalked up to a misclick. That is a census. Oh, wait, this is it right here. This is it. Yeah. Are we doing chapter 9? There's no chapter 9. Woohoo! No chapter 9. That might be experiments. Somehow we had a misclick in there. That was not a mistake of Brian. We need to review the tape. Did you see where that happened, Christian? Because we did say for the systematic that everything was fine. I think somehow when Pearson was moving around my clicks, somehow that got clicked. Or maybe I just blinked and clicked the wrong button. But we definitely did not say there was response bias with the systematic. But with the systematic, there would not be any bias because, as we were saying, systematic is a proper sampling method. As we can see right here, systematic is a random sampling method. And we're doing chapter 10 today, which we're talking about right now. Talking about some systematic sampling. So sorry about that. Looks like there was a misclick in there. No, we don't like misclicks. Let's head over and do the roller coaster question. Here we go. It's so easy to get a misclick. Got to check those answers. Make sure you check the answers. It can happen to the best of us. But let's not have a misclick on the roller coaster question. It's going to be the waiting in line for roller coaster. You're right. Welcome, Christian. If you have more questions, there's a lot of versions of that. We probably did like 5 out of the 10 questions possible. So we can come back and do it again. It's a good one. It's a good practice one. I was pretty sure about that. The one where I said that there would be non-response because they didn't say follow up with home surveys. They like to say that, so there's not non-response. It is 1 hour, 10 minutes, and 10 seconds in. Let's do the roller coaster question. Here we go. An amusement park has opened a new roller coaster. With the new roller coaster open, it is so popular that people are waiting 3 hours for a 2-minute ride. Wow, that's a lot of time. It's like 1/7 of your day. No, 1/8 of your day. I can't do math today. Concerned about how patrons who paid a large amount to enter the park and ride the rides feel about this, they survey the first 200 people. Now, when you hear the first 200 people, that sounds very what to do. If I say, I need you to go talk to people, go talk to the first 200. 4-letter word, pretty easy word to spell. If I say, you're going to go talk to the first 200 people, you would say, well, that sounds pretty what to do. I say, your job is to talk to the first 200 people. Versus talk to 200 people spread out randomly throughout the day. Or talk to 200 people where I'm going to have you speak to every 50th person who enters the park. Or talk to everybody who enters the park. So if I say talk to the first 200 people, which is not a good idea, talking to the first 200 people would definitely be easy, and it'd be a convenience sample. That is just, it'd be Well, not simple. Simple random sample is actually not that simple. Good answers right there, Christian. A simple random sample is actually if we have everyone randomly selected throughout the park. So in a simple random sample, everything is basically given a number. Like everyone gets or stack right there. Everyone gets a number, and then we randomly select. So imagine it's like when you walk into the park and they're like, "Oh, you've been randomly selected to take a survey," and you're like, "Oh, cool." No, 100 points right there. Don't worry, it's good guess time right there. More points in the chat. I appreciate the guesses because a simple random sample is you might because you might be like, "Oh, simple," but it actually is a simple random sample where we give everything a number and then we randomly select those individuals. So you would walk into the park and they'd be like, "Oh, you've been randomly selected for a survey because their random number generator selected you." Does that make sense, Zach, on how the park might do a simple random sample? If we actually worked at an amusement park, we would just say the amusement park admissions things randomly selects people. Like it's just completely random. Great to see you here, Abigail. If you got some questions, let us know. That would be how an amusement park in today's world would probably do a simple random sample is like a random person is just selected to take the survey. Awesome. And then a census is we speak to everybody, and a systematic sample would be we talk to every 20th person who walks into the park. So the person would just be like, "Okay, you're person number 20. Hi, I need to speak to you about your thoughts on the park." What is the sample frame? Now, the sample frame is everyone we have access to. And this is interesting because we're going to talk to the people as they enter the park. So who could we speak to? Who could we possibly speak to? Now, the sample frame is everybody we could speak to. What do you think? A, B, C, or D? The sample frame is everyone we could possibly speak to. So, who could we possibly speak to? A, B, C, or D? Who could we possibly speak to? A, B, C, or D? What do you think? Would it be all the patrons who like roller coasters? All the people who go to amusement parks? All the people willing to wait in the line? All the patrons of the park? Who would be the people we could speak to? The people we could speak to would be who? So remember, we're taking our sample from the people as they enter the park. You see how the text does that because it changes. But we're talking to the people as they enter the park. So who do we have access to? We would have access to who? The sample frame is who we have access to talk to. So who do we have access to talk to? Which of these best describes who we could possibly be talking to? Don't worry, take a guess. Good practice, good guess time. The people we would have access to talk to would be all the patrons of the park. Anybody who walks into the park is anyone we could theoretically speak to. So we're going to say we're going to talk to the first 200 people who walk into the park. So anyone who comes into the park, we could theoretically speak to. Is the sample likely to be representative of the population of interest? We're going to go with no right here because it's convenience. Oh, and so B would be all people who go to amusement parks. Now, Cassandra, that does seem like a possible answer. That's one of those answers I don't love because, frankly, anyone who likes amusement parks could technically go to our park, but they might not be at the park that day. So B is one of those ones that almost, I agree, B sounds kind of good, but B, it's very close. It's almost one of those answers that's so close to the right answer that it kind of drives me crazy. Cassandra, 100 points right there. I don't like answer B because it's almost like a good answer. It's like, oh, it's kind of close, but the sampling frame would be anyone who goes to the park that day. Like it matters if they come early, but people who go to the park are people we could theoretically speak to. Is the sample frame likely to be representative? We're going to go with one of the no answers. Is not likely to be representative of everyone who waited in line for the roller coaster. So no. So we're not interested in understanding people who wait in line for the roller coaster. We want to know everybody at the park. So this is where we need to understand, we are trying to understand people who go to our park. And so since the population of interest is people who go to the park, it doesn't say that here, but we want to understand people who go to the park. So we want a representative sample of people who go to the park. Now, the issue why it's not representative is we're taking the first 200 people. If we took a random sample of 200 people who went to the park, that would be good. We might do an additional version of this. What members of the population of interest are omitted? It's going to be people who showed up later in the day. There it is right there. So that's the problem and why it's not representative. Don't mind There we go. I was like, please, no. We misclicked on the last one. We're not misclicking on this. Let's do another version of this because there are multiple versions of these types of questions. See, there's a systematic. But this one right here, the first 200 again, really, is it not going to do a different version now that I've completed it? I think that actually happens if you complete it. It actually shows you the version you completed. So we'll do this right here. Okay, so, but it's convenience again, really? Okay. Here we go with the 20th. So with the 20th right here, that is definitely systematic. What letters do you usually see at the end of a systematic sampling method? If you see systematic, what letters after like 20 or 10 or 5, what do you usually see? Unless it's like third, second, what letters do you usually see at the end of a systematic where it's like we're going to take the every 10, what do you usually see that tells you it's systematic to say, oh, when people walk into the park, let's speak to every 20 and then this. And if you see that, you're like, oh, that's systematic. It's like one of the key, like, that's systematic. What letters do you usually see that would clue you in on instantaneously that it's systematic? Like when you see 20 and then you're like, okay, they're going to talk to every 20. And then you're like, oh, that's systematic. That's systematic. So what letters do you usually see? Because that's just a placeholder when it says K. What letters do you usually see that you're like, systematic? Know it. That one's easy. I do consider this one of the easier ones to memorize. Be like, oh, every blank. So is there an updated homework packet for the assignment 6 on Sunday? I was a little bit confused because it says chapter 3, exercise 3 for question B. It says, do you want me to take a look at that next, Abigail? I can take a look at that next. Updated slides. Oh, I need to remove those. The updated slides, are those published? Let me make sure, Abigail, we'll take a look at that next right here. But I think that got changed around. So it like has resources and it's not updated packet. It's just the slides to use to understand how to interpret stuff. And we'll make sure those things are in line right there. Thank you, Abigail, for asking that. 100 points. Every Kate is what we want to look at right here. Every Kate observation. What is the sampling frame? Now, remember, these are the people we have access to. So they survey every 20th person in line for the roller coaster. So the sample frame would be people who are waiting in line for the roller coaster. And so why is it that? Because we're going to talk to every 20th person waiting in line for the roller coaster, starting at a random individual. Great job on the systematic. And so that is going to make it, we're only going to be able to talk to people who wait in line for the roller coaster because we're going to talk to every 20th person in line for the roller coaster. Next we see here, is the sample likely to be representative of the population of interest? No, because we're talking to only people who wait in line for the roller coaster to see if they'd wait in line. So we want to understand people who come to our park. We are interested in people who come to our park, and we should be talking to all the people who enter the park. So the answer is no, it's not going to be representative of everyone in the park because we're talking to people who wait in line for the roller coaster. They might have they're willing to wait in line. They might feel differently. Last but not least, what members of the population are omitted? Well, we were kind of saying it right there. The people who are not willing to wait in line for the roller coaster are people we won't be able to talk to. So this is not representative. Even though we did systematic, we didn't choose the right sampling frame. Let's do one more version right here, and then we'll hop over there and look at some 320. There we go. Every 15th male. So once again, this is systematic, and you'll notice this is also going to cause a problem. So what is the sampling frame? Well, if they're talking to every 15th male, well, it's a systematic sample of every 15th male, so they can only talk to males. So the only people they would speak to are males. So they're not going to speak to every male. They're going to speak to every 15th male. Is it as they enter the park? So it's going to have different problems right here. Next we have, is it likely to be representative? No, because we're only talking to one group. So no, it's not likely to be representative of everyone in the park. What members of the population are omitted? People who are not male right there are omitted. So that is definitely a problem right there. And they're just doing a bunch of bad surveying right here. Every 20th male again. Ooh. This one's a good one. We finally got the first good one. They're going to start at a randomly selected individual as they enter the park. And they're just going to talk to every 10th person as they enter the park. So they just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then they say, hi, I need to speak to you. So they're going to speak to, they have access to everyone who enters the park. They're doing a systematic sample. There is no bias right here. Or is it likely to be representative? Yes, there's no bias, and no members of the park are omitted. So this is very good right here. This is the first and only good one we've seen so far because we're talking to every 10th person as they enter the park from a random starting point, and that's great. Let's head back to the main screen. Okay, I'm going to send out the 201 announcement. Let's go over here. 201 announcement. Class starting in 30 minutes, and we'll look at BS 320. Class in 30 minutes. Announcements. Okay, got that. And There we go. I think that, double check, goes to the right link. Okay, let's take a look at 320. Make sure it's looking good. Get everything pulled up right here as we speak. The grader is catching up, which would be really good. Assignments. Have you heard of the name Mark Brunette? No. Who? Cybersecurity expert? You're welcome, Cassandra. Great work right there. Cybersecurity expert. I have not. It sounds familiar. A lot of names sound familiar. Let me go get the notes, because it should be in the notes. And so the question was 16 through 17, 61, 63. Oh, here it is right here. Got it. Okay. So let's go to the main screen. Let's check it out. And we'll take a timestamp right here. BAS. What time is it? 1:22:50. BAS 320. Assignment 6 help. Okay. Awesome. Nice job. Yep. I saw that. Isaac. Shout out to Isaac. Thank you so much, Isaac. And here we are with this question right here. So the question says, you need to load in the ex3 abalone data with the data function right here, command, and have that to be in the R. And then going through here with the steps. And this is exercise 3 from page 126. So we need to go to the homework packet. Let me get the homework packet loaded up. Homework packet loading up. I should just go to where I store it on my computer. I download the homework packet like every other day. And so we're going to get the homework packet going right here. Homework packet. Here it is, homework packet. And let me open it in the browser. There we go. Homework packet loading up. There we go. And there we go. Okay. So page 126. Here it is. And there's the EX3 abalone. So this is the question, Abigail, you'll be doing. I think it was Abigail asking, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the questions you'll be doing right here. Make the relevant scatter plot. And so for B right here, fit the linear regression anyway and look at it with the visualized model. Then produce a list of possible transformations that may fix the issues by running fine transformations. So using the notes right here, we want to actually go to the find regression transformation. So this is the find transformations right here and how it's done. And this is currently on, I think it is, yeah, I think, so this is what it's referring to. I think it's accurate still. It says for part B right here, 61 through 63. So does this make sense, Abigail? What it's referring to is if you go right here, so I thought it was accurate. It looks to still be. If you take a look right here, we're on page 61 of the notes, and there's 61, 62, 63, showing how to use the fine transformations right here. Oh, no worries, no worries. Awesome. Abigail, thank you, 100 points for asking. But no, good question right here. And I think the fine transformations might be the first thing it's talking about. So 16 and 17. Let's go to 16 and 17. So here's 16 and 17 where the visualized model is. So the visualized model is showing right here how to do visualized model on 16 and 17, how to make a regression and visualize it. And then 61 through 63 right here in the notes. We added these a little while ago. I was hoping they were still accurate. But 61 through 63 are going to be showing how to do the fine transformations in the notes right here. So doing the fine transformations. Do you have additional questions, Abigail? Let me know. Good questions right here, but just understanding what it's trying to communicate to you, that you're still doing this question right here from the homework packet, but you're also then using the activity and other things right here to do it, to make your scatter plots, to make your visualizations. But the notes are a huge help right here. Definitely using the notes on fine transformations. Then also right here, you see other notes helping us walk through 58 through 57. Well, that's a lot of pages. But yes, please let me know if you have questions on any of this, because the assignment is due this weekend and it is covered on the test. But I've seen some really good grades on the test so far. Good stuff. Like people are doing well, and that's what we like to see. A lot of good stuff. Well, with that, we'll head back over to the main screen. What are anyone's thoughts? It's almost the end of office hours. Another week. We're on Wednesday. Class. We're already we're halfway done with the semester. I can't believe it. We might even be 60% done. It's crazy. Midterms have gone by. Gonna have test 2 coming up here for Stat 201. People were asking about that. When is test 2 for Stat 201? Test 2 for Stat 201. There's exam 1. Exam 2. Exam 2. Let me move those around. Exam 2 is Wednesday, April 13th. Wednesday, April 13th. So a little over half a month from now. Well, that's got it. We'll be back here in just a little bit for class. Until then, I'll see everybody later. Bye for now. Bye. Class coming up here soon in 22 minutes. Bye, everybody.